We're going to wrap up the show with a player profile who I think is going to be the best option for the Hurricanes at the 2024 NHL Entry Draft.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the everydayer for making this your first listen today. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I do some AHL coverage over at the Calder Times. I'm the co-host of the Surge Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a very exciting show for you guys on Friday to wrap up the week. It is another player prospect profile for the upcoming 2024 NHL Entry Draft, and it's someone who I think the Carolina Hurricanes probably has the best guy that they could probably get at that pick in the draft. I know the last week we've done a different number of guys, and we're going to be doing more so as we get closer to the draft, but I think this guy that we're talking about today is probably the best pick, in my opinion, for the Hurricanes at the number 27 for an overall pick. But before we get into the prospect profile and all that stuff, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So the player that we're going to be doing today is London Knights right winger Sam O'Reilly. And I guess over the last week, you've seen me do John Mustard, Adam Jecko, and if you've read my articles over at the Hockey Writers, I've gotten into done a couple more guys, and we're going to be doing a lot more as we go over the next few weeks. But I did one for Thursday, and I thought he'd be the perfect guy to talk about next for today's Friday episode, and that's Sam O'Reilly of the London Knights. And for what I've read about him and just caught up on some scouting reports and how he's been viewed by NHL scouts and what he can be probably projected at, I think this guy is probably the best pick, in my opinion, for the Hurricanes at 27. And he's actually ranked by NHL Central Scouting as the 24th best skater, or they rank him 24th in terms of North American skaters. Played for the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League, who actually just lost in the Memorial Cup Finals to the Saginaw Spirit in a very late 4-3 loss with 21 seconds left in the game. But for Sam, he's 6'1", 178. He's a right shooting right winger. He had 20 goals, 36 assists for 56 points in 68 games for the Knights this year. So overall, not a bad season for his rookie season overall with the London Knights. And the fact that you look at how he did in the playoffs too, he had 5 goals, 7 assists for 12 points in 16 playoff games. So overall, really good playoff for him. Great regular season too, where you get 56 points in 68 games. And for the fact that he was a plus 32 for the London Knights. That's really, really good for him. And the one thing I like about him, in that it's something that he's, one of his strengths, according to, just from looking at scouts at the NHL Central Scouting, even Brock Otten of OHL Prospects, and even, from what the guys over at the Hockey Writers who do a lot more of the prospect show, dealings and stuff like that. Peter Bracci actually did an article on him back in April, and for the fact that, one of the strengths that Sam O'Reilly has, and I think this is why he probably fits in the best with the Carolina Hurricanes system, especially with what Brind'amour likes to do with his forwards. One of his main strengths is he's got a strong 200-foot game. And as Hurricanes fans, we all know that the Hurricanes really thrive on guys who are good two-way 200-foot players. You look at Seth Jarvis, and what I talked about on Thursday's show, the one thing that made him really stand out in a breakout year for him was he took his sophomore year, second year in the league, and worked on his defensive game. That's why you saw in this past season for 23-24 how Seth Jarvis took that next step and made himself a player that Rod Brind'amour could use essentially in all situations. And I think that's what you can see also in Sam O'Reilly. And of course, I'm not saying he's going to be on the team next year, and however that works out. But if the Hurricanes do draft him, and let's say give him a year or two to develop more, maybe he stays with, the London Knights for a little bit longer, or, eventually goes to the AHL, or maybe he does what a Seth Jarvis did and, forces his way onto the team. He has that strength of being a guy who's a really solid two-way player who can be relied upon. The fact that his 200-foot game with his two-way is something that's really, really good. And even, from, when it comes to elite prospects and cap friendly, they even scouted him too. And they really like his compete and his consistency, in terms of a 0 to 100 grade. He's got an 85 for a compete. His hockey IQ is at an 88. His puck moving and passing is up to an 86. And even his offensive zone starts is an 83. So you're already talking about a guy who, in terms of where his grade is, he's graded as an A- from cap friendly. And they're projecting his third line, but I could definitely see him becoming someone who could be a good top 9, possibly second line right winger. And he's someone who could be really good in the future for the Hurricanes. The fact that, he's someone that you will fully appreciate what type of game he brings if you actually watch his game and focus on him specifically, because it seems like he's someone who's, not trying to tire himself out really quick. He has that way of finding an extra gear and, being able to calculate how he's going to attack the zone, and is someone who can be reliable in every asset of if you're talking in your own zone or in the defensive zone, no matter where he's at, he's someone who can find a way to pace himself, but also kick into that extra gear too. And the fact that, with his speed and his hockey IQ, he's able to find a way to cause deception when it comes to off the rush. So he's able to find a way to get open himself and also find a way to distribute the puck too. Because like I said, with his puck moving at an 86, he's someone who can, off the puck, find a way to be able to get in the area that he needs to be to, for the odd man rush, or even if he has the puck on his stick, he knows how to create deception and throw guys off when it comes to the transition game. And the fact that you add that extra gear, it helps too when you're trying to, break through a lane and attack the net. And that's something that's really, really good for him. And that's something that could really be used for the Carolina Hurricanes. And the fact that, he's someone who's got that two-way mindset along with that transition game. And he's someone that he's definitely a playmaker for sure, because he isn't, like I said, he scored, in his regular season with the London Knights. He did score 20 goals and had 36 assists. So he's someone who can do a lot of secondary scoring. He's definitely someone who looks for the playmaker, and that's why his passing is so high, especially for a right shot right wing. But he's someone who can score too. And he's not afraid to score. Like, if you look at where he's at overall in his career, went the London Nationals of the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, which is the league just under the Ontario League. He did have 26 goals and 63 points in 35 games, and even in the playoffs too that year with the Nationals, 11 points in 8 games, and that was 22-23. He knows how to score goals. He knows how to be able to set up a way to, find the goal scoring while also setting up his teammates as well. And that's why you saw it this past season too. You get 56 points in 68 games. You get 12 points in 16 games in the playoffs. So he knows how to create chances. He knows how to score himself too. And the fact that he's able to find a way to have that consistency in his game, knows how to calculate his approaches, finds the extra gear when he needs to get going, and is able to find a way to handle the puck, on his stick, and able to get room when he doesn't have the puck. And the fact that too is he's someone who can be that 200-foot two-way scorer that the Hurricanes definitely need. And I think that's something that's really beneficial too for them, moving forward. And another thing that was the main strength of his is his work ethic and his drive, along with his puck protection skills. He knows how to protect the puck, and he knows how to find a way to create chances and do what he needs to does. And the fact that you look at, Rod Brind'amour definitely preaches work ethic and making sure you have the drive to become better every day. And I think someone like Sam O'Reilly could definitely fit into what Rod Brind'amour is looking for as forwards. And, the fact that he's generally projected as a third line guy, I could definitely see him becoming a middle six or even a top six, given enough time in the system. And the fact that he plays so well into what Rod Brind'amour wants for his forward core, I think he's definitely a person that could fit really, really well in someone that could in the future, depending on how long it takes for him to get into the National League. I think he could be a good power play guy to have for the Hurricanes and be able to get a lot of even strength time too. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. And like I said, going back to earlier, what Brock Otten of the AHL Prospects said, even what NHL Central Scouting said, and even the London Knights associate general manager Rob Simpson even said some. They had some high praises for Sam too, and we'll get to all of that here in a second because that's definitely something we got to talk about. So we'll get to that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. A lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. The one thing I like about having life insurance, the fact that just that ease of mind of knowing if something happens, I know I can go and rely on that insurance to take care of me or my family. And with Policy Genius, it helps you easily compare your options with America's top insurers in just a few clicks. Their award-winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. And the thing with Policy Genius too, they have no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can trust their guidance. They have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot for customers who found the best fit for their needs. Get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, at the end of segment 1, we're going to go into some quotes and some notes that, Central Scouting, the OHL Prospects, and even, Knights Associate General Manager Rob Simpson said, talk about Sam O'Reilly. And I think just listening to these quotes gives you a good understanding of how Sam is being viewed just by not just his general manager, but also, the guys who really go and scout these players, and where you see these, scouting report lists of ranking where guys are in terms of like North American, European stuff, like skaters, goalies, and all that stuff. So the fact that you see how Sam is viewed by these scouts, it really gives you a promising idea of how I think personally Sam O'Reilly could be the best option for the Hurricanes at 27 if he is there. So we're actually going to start with Rob Simpson, who is the London Knights Associate General Manager, and this was something I really thought was really catching for me. The nice thing that Sam brings, he's a little bit of a throwback to me because he does a lot of little things on the ice that are hard to find. He drives the net extremely hard, can tip pucks, screen goalies. He's a physical all over the ice and can play a 200-foot game. And for me, that just sounds like Seth Jarvis. You see where Seth Jarvis is 5'10", around 180 pounds. You look at the prospect profile of Sam O'Reilly, he's 6'1", 176. So he's not a big physical guy. He's kind of around the same, weight area as Seth Jarvis, maybe a couple inches taller, but the fact that he crashes the net, he screens goalies, he tips pucks. He's almost like he's got that nice combination of like I don't care how big I am, I'm still going to throw the body around and get into the physicality of like a Seth Jarvis, but also knows how to crash the net and, get into the dirty areas and get those greasy goals like a Steph Nason. So you're almost getting like that hockey IQ of Nason with that I'm an all-around complete player. No matter how my size is, I'm still going to get there and get physical in Seth Jarvis. So you're getting that nice little combination of those two guys with Sam O'Reilly. And the fact that with what Rob Simpson is saying is the fact that he's that guy that you can see that plays a 200-foot game that's not afraid to do what he needs to do to get the goals and helps his team win. The fact that he's physical really does help. And with that too, the way he plays his game, the way he does the transitions from the defensive zone through the neutral protect to the offensive zone, finds the guys that he needs to on the rush, gets into the corners, gets in front of the goal too, and somehow able to find that gear, I think it's something that if you're the Carolina Hurricanes around Brind'amour, if that guy's available at 27, I think you just instantly take him. Because I don't know who else you would like. I know there's a lot of other guys that are gonna be around there too. And I know over the next few weeks we're gonna profile more guys. Maybe we can start looking later on into the draft too, around pick 60 for round 2 and all that stuff. But I think if you're looking at the 27th overall pick, I know I talked about Adam Jecko. I know I talked about John Mustard as well. Going to talk about a couple other guys as well starting next week. Still, we're going to talk about around the 27th pick, but we'll start looking farther down the road. But if you ask me, I think O'Reilly is that guy. And I even said it in my article on Thursday, doing the draft target for the Hurricanes. In the article, I said, if you were looking at someone that it could fit perfectly within the Hurricane system, it's O'Reilly, just by the fact that you see how his general manager talks about him and then how Central Scouting and OHL prospects are going to talk about here in a second. I'm going to bring that up too. They are saying what his play style, his mindset is. I think it just fits so perfectly with what Rod and the Hurricanes want to do. And even talking about from what Central Scouting said, Central Scouting put this perfectly. He has good game habits. It's hard to play against and plays with some bite while playing within the rules. He has very good offensive hockey sense and puck skills. It's hard to contain down low and gain more confidence offensively as the season progresses. O'Reilly can play the fast, smart game in traffic and small areas and has all the tools in his kit to contribute offensively. That is, if you're a Hurricanes fan, you take away from that Central Scouting quote as, okay, this guy offensively is so good. And the fact that he just gets better and better as the season goes along, the fact that he can play fast and within traffic and in small areas, but also has that hockey sense to know how to get down low, contain the puck, be able to play physical, but keep it clean. So like I said, you're looking at he's going to blow guys up like Steph Nason while getting into the low areas and being hard to move around. But it's also having that Seth Jarvis. He's got the wheels that are necessary to get to the areas, break out, and be able to create those chances. And that's why I think that perfect combination of a Seth Jarvis / Steph Nason and what you get in Sam O'Reilly, I think he could be someone that really makes a strong case to eventually crack the Hurricanes roster in a top 6, maybe top 9 or even middle 6 role. I think as a right shot right winger, he is probably one of the best overall options for the Hurricanes at that spot. Give him enough time and give him some, within the system, keep learning and growing. The fact that the Hurricanes run the hockey ops department over at the Chicago Wolves of the AHL. If you get Sam O'Reilly to Chicago and get him developed with, your guys there with the Wolves and being around all the other prospects, I think he can become he can become better than he already is. And the fact that he's sitting at 24 and just reading his overall prospect grades and just reading how he's been scouted, it's crazy that he's at 24. You would think he'd be a little bit higher. So by some chance he's sitting there, if I'm the Canes and if I'm, Darren York, who's the lead scout for the amateurs, if I'm interim general manager Eric Tulsky, if he's sitting there, I go for him. That's like my number one guy that you're looking for the draft to get. Like I said, fits the system perfectly. He's got that sense of, what you're getting out of him in terms of, okay, this guy is a nice mix of, like I said, of a Jarvis, a Nason. Might even give you a little bit of an Aho too. Maybe a little bit of a Teva. He's got a good mix of a bunch of guys that you already know that's in your system. But I think overall, just from how he's looked at by Central Scouting and Rob Simpson, I think it's a good thing to see that he's someone that, he has all these good things to happen. There's some things that he still has to work on too. I think there's some improvements that could be made. He doesn't really have that high-end speed of what you see like with a Martin Necas and stuff like that. But if you still give him around like what a Seth Jarvis speed is, or even the top 10 on the team in speed, I think that's something that you really get from him. And, skating could be done a little bit too. But, he's still young. He's 17. give him some extra time, get him a little bit develop more. I think you can figure out how to make the skating a little bit better and stuff like that. But for me, you look at his work ethic, he's someone that every NHL team is going to love, especially the Hurricanes. And the fact that too is that even though he is a right winger specifically, he does give you that flexibility of playing a center as well if it works to the advantage of the team. And I think he's a really good guy who could, be very, very effective with being a middle six guy who could get, a lot more top 6 minutes, but it's someone who can be a big factor when it comes to, tone setting and being a really strong defensive player for how he is. And you look at his 200-foot game is so good. I think he can definitely be part of that. And, he's one of those guys that you could be really using on the penalty kill, and his net front presence going to help on the power play. So you're looking at someone like a Sebastian Aho who plays a lot of power play and penalty, and on the penalty kill too. And you have that hockey IQ of a Steph Nason on the power play. So Sam O'Reilly, in my opinion, could be that guy for Rod Brind'amour, where he could be a Seth Jarvis, a Sebastian Aho, where you're throwing him in every situation, and you know what you're going to get out of this guy. And from what Peter, in terms of risk reward, he has him as a risk of 2, but a reward of a 3, almost a 4. So that's something that's really, really good for him. And the fact of just really good achievements for Sam O'Reilly, for the fact that he only played 1 full season with the London Knights. He did play in the CHL Top Prospects game, so you're really good if you're being able to be put in that type of area in terms of just how you're being viewed. So we are going to go into some projections. I know with the Adam Jecko prospect profile, we did go over some projections of where some people think he might go in the draft. So we'll do that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Game Time makes getting NBA final tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets the tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. The one thing I really love about Game Time is the fact that you get last-minute tickets on also their flash deals, and their zone deals are really, really good. And their views from their seats at the actual venue itself on the app is a great game changer when it comes to seeing where you're actually sitting at. With their last minute deals, you can actually save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. With their flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And even with their zone deals, you can even save more when you just choose a section, but you let Game Time choose the seats for you. And in terms of the seats itself, they have a great seat view feature on their app where you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy the actual ticket. So even before you get to the venue, if there's obstructed views, where you're going to be looking at your seats. That way, before you get there, you know what you're going to be seeing. There's going to be no surprises with that great panoramic view feature on their app. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA final tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said at the end of segment 2, we're going to go into some projections now of where people think that Sam O'Reilly is going to go in the 2024 NHL Entry Draft. I know in terms of the NHL Central Scouting, he is ranked 24th by North American skaters. I know when you're looking at how Peter, you looked at him from the hockey writers, and that is Peter Baracchini. He's someone that you really need to keep an eye on. He's a really good writer. I would definitely highly recommend him if you're looking for anything in terms of scouting and stuff like that. So with his projection, he sees him as a second-round selection, more so than a first, but I think he has that work ethic. He's got that drive that, he could be someone that could be a first rounder. And Peter thinks he's more of a second rounder, and he's someone that could fit within the teams. Like they can steal him in the second. I would say if you're the Hurricanes, you would almost steal him in the first. You're talking the 27th overall pick. You know really what you're going to get in the end of the first round. And yeah, maybe there's guys that could go early in the first because the Hurricanes had the 60th pick in the second round. So you're talking way later into that second round. So if it's me, I would go and be like, okay, he's projected second round, supposedly projected second round. Central Scouting's got him at 24th for North American skaters. I would say take him at 27. If he's available, and I know I've said it a lot this episode, and I'm going to keep reiterating it, you take him at 27. If he's available, he's a guy that fits the system perfectly. And I know Darren York and Eric Tulsky know what they're doing in terms of prospects, and the scouts do a good job. And we can clearly see it for how good the Hurricanes scout. You're talking Bradley Nadeau last year in the first round. You're talking stealing Sebastian Aho in the second round, where people thought that, that was a stretch pick for them. You get Jacob Slavin in the fifth round. You get Brett Pesce late in the rounds. You go and get Seth Jarvis at 13, and a lot of people didn't know how good he was going to be, and you see how good he is now. So the Hurricanes have really good scouting. So if you are at 27 and you see Sam O'Reilly there, I would definitely say go and get him. He could be projected for second round. I know there's going to be some teams that might take him in the first, but honestly, if you're looking at someone that you could really fit into your system well with no issues, and you just got to fix a couple little things on what he needs to get done, I think he's someone that really benefits from, being an assistant that works onto his skill set. And I think with that is the perfect one for the Hurricanes. So for me, you're looking at a guy that you can just slide in. Sam O'Reilly is going to be that. So yeah, like I said, he could be top 9, he could be middle 6, he could be top 6, but he will get a lot of power play and penalty kill time too. So he's someone that you can use in all situations, even strength, special teams, even if you're on the man advantage or, you're down a guy. He's someone that you can use in all 3 zones, all types of situations. And like I said, he's that mix of a Jarvis and Steph Nason. So for me, if you're looking at someone at 27, I think Sam O'Reilly is that guy. I know I've talked about other guys too, in terms of, on the podcast or with the hockey writers saying, these guys could fit here. These might be some good options. But if you ask me today, right now on June 7th of who I think the guy is for the Hurricanes at 27, I think you found him. Right winger from the London Knights, that is Sam O'Reilly, and he's a Toronto boy too. So he stayed local, played in the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, went up to the OHL with the London Knights. I think he would fit perfectly with this team, and it's almost like you get him in a slam dunk, despite the fact that some people think he's the second rounder. I think he's definitely a late first, early second. You're at 27. Why not? Why just go get him? It just makes sense to get Sam O'Reilly. I think he's the best person for the Hurricanes. But, if you're on the YouTube side of things, let me know in the comments. Do you think Sam O'Reilly could be a good pick for the Hurricanes at 27? And if you think there's someone else, let me know too. I would love to see where people kind of think that, where the Hurricanes might go. Do you go look at another forward? Do you look at defense? There's a lot of options for the Hurricanes there. But let me know what you think. Do you think Sam O'Reilly could be that guy for the Hurricanes if you're on the YouTube side of things? But if you're on the, if you're on social media, let me know there too. Do you think Sam O'Reilly could be that guy for the Hurricanes at 27? If you want to keep in touch with me on social media, you can follow me at OneTrueZach on X. You can follow the podcast at LO_Hurricanes. And if you go to the link tree in my bio, you can find out where to find all my articles and newsletters with the hockey writers. Also, my AHL coverage over at the Calder Times. You also listen and watch my other podcast, the Searchcast. There's links for that over there. And in terms of this podcast for Locked On Hurricanes, there's a link to where you can listen to the show, and on YouTube where you can watch. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the bell, turn on all notifications so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumbs up button. Let me know what you let me know you like the video. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Sam O'Reilly could be that guy? And if you share the YouTube channel and make sure the other Caniacs subscribe as well, that way they become everydayers just like you and get us to 1,000 subscribers. Because we're at over 870, but if we get to 1,000, I might just do something special for you guys. But that will wrap up today's episode. I hope everyone enjoyed this prospect profile of London Knights right winger Sam O'Reilly. I love this guy. I think he'd be a really great fit for the Hurricanes. I love doing these episodes for you guys. This whole past week of doing prospect profiles and the 23-24 grades, it's been a lot of fun doing this. So let me know, do you like me doing these as well? I'm very excited to jump back into this next week. But hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Hope everyone has a good rest of their Friday. And also have a great weekend, everyone. And until next week, as always, let's go Canes.